Welcome to Machinery D. Today I want to do a little video comparing the 40 series versus the 20 series John Deere tractors. We're missing one. I wish I had a 30 series, like a 4430 sitting right here. I'd love to have all three. But I feel like this is a pretty good comparison because the 4320 turned into the 4430 and the 4430 got replaced by the 4440. So although this tractor is a bigger tractor because they got bigger as the series went along, this is a grandson to that. I wish I had 4430 dad in the middle. This video is not going to be necessarily comparing a 4440 to a 4320. There will be some comparisons, but I really just want to compare all the 40 series to the 20 series for the most part. So most of these things will go for both. So with that, let's start with the front. You'll notice on a 20 series you got the slab weights and starter kit and slab weights, and you just stacked weights on, and then you could also get a starter weight that was double high so you could have two rows. Whereas you'll see on the 40 series we went to suitcase weights. A little bit easier to adjust weight if you wanted to add some or take some off for different applications. Let's look at the fuel tank. So on the 4440, this is the fuel tank. It's single wall down to about here and up to about here. So this is the fuel tank. Let's go to the 4320. It has a round fuel tank. Let me give you a little quick shot. It's a little bit taller on the top, but it has a fuel tank and it has sheet metal going in front of it. See what these bolts are? You see a lot of the old John Deere tractors, even back to the 2-cylinders, had those two bolts up there. Those are for front-mounted cultivators. And by the 40 series, by the 30 series, mid-70s, we weren't using those anymore, and John Deere quit putting those on the tractors. Let's move back a little bit, or down a little bit, to the axles. On the 20 series, from 4320 down, you got this axle, this round cast axle. A lot of people had problems with these knees and these centers if they put it on a loader tractor. They were good, but they weren't the best loader tractor front axle. A lot of people are putting these front end, the 30 and 40 series front axles, under the 20 series because they just hold up a lot better under loaders. And we go to this front axle, as I was saying. I always thought it didn't look that strong because we have 4 bolts holding the knee on. But I don't know if you can see here, there's kind of a keyway. And those bolts don't really hold the weight. Those keyways hold the weight. But those bolts just keep it clamped together. This is a very strong front end. A lot less problems. But probably some of my favorite upgrades is the 8-lug hubs versus 6-lug. Now, you would have got 8-lug if you would have went up to a 4520, 4620, 5020. Those were 8-lug. But when it gets into this, the 540 PTO tractors, the 43 and 44 size, 8-lug was standard on a 4440. On a 4430, the later ones, or maybe it was special order, some of them had 8-lug and some of them had 6-lug. And on the 4240s, most of them were 6-lug, unless I've seen a few. I don't know if they've changed out or if it was special ordered that way, but as far as this size range, because I know this tractor is bigger than this tractor, but they're the same size family. This one just got bigger over time. I do like the 8-lug over the 6-lug. Moving back a little bit, let's look at the hood and fuel tank area. This has a lot bigger tank than a 4020. This actually has a 44-gallon tank where a 4020 was 33. But this bad boy has a massive 65-gallon tank. And it comes all the way, they didn't waste any space. It comes all the way up into the sheet metal. And you'll see it goes all the way back to the coolers. That is all fuel tank. Where let's come over to the 4320. we have our air cleaner in there. And that leads me to my next point of the 30 and 40 series. Do you notice, let me back up just a little bit, how much taller this tractor is than that one? This one's sitting on smaller tires, but I don't know if the video would do it justice, but from here to here is just a lot taller on a 30 and 40 series than on this 4320. Now, why would they do that? It's going to not help visibility. It's going to, you know, just making a tractor taller doesn't necessarily make it better. Let me show you why they did that. As I showed you, the air cleaner is right under here. I'll show you one more time real quick. That's the air cleaner. You access it from the other side. So to feed this massive horse, they move the air cleaner. The air cleaner's no longer in there. As I said, it's all fuel tank. All fuel tank. Dirty fuel tank. There's where the air cleaner is on a 40 series. Now on the 4430, the air cleaner is over here, and a 4430 is a little bit shorter in this department. But these 40 series, the hoods are way up in the air on them. Why? Because they raised the hood, put the air cleaner back here to make room for that 65-gallon fuel tank. As we move past the fuel tank and the hood design, the hood height, this one of course has a bigger radiator. It's taller. It can be taller because of that taller hood. But these are pretty fair comparison engine as far as this one's got more cubic inch. This is a 466, but they are both turbocharged, and neither one of them have an intercooler. If you went to a 4630 or a 4640, you would have got an intercooler. If you would have went to a 4520 or 4620, you would have got an intercooler. But these are both turbocharged, non-intercooled engines. As I said, this is the 404. This is a 466. So tractors were getting bigger, even for the same size categories. So as I said, I really like the front end better on the 40 series and 30 series. Let me tell you about my next biggest improvement that they did on these tractors is the battery boxes. As we'll see, tilt this down, see if I can do it one-handed. A little spring-loaded clip there. Hopefully that bang didn't hurt your ears. I need a bigger battery in this. This is the battery that comes with the tractor. This is only 850, but I like this battery box situation a lot better than the 20 series. I like it so much better than the 20 series. Let me show you what I did here. This is a factory battery box for the 20 series. This would have been 6 volt when it came out, but most people swapped them to 12 volt, the long skinny batteries. I think the name, the model of the battery is a 3ET, and you need both batteries, and they're very expensive. Where's my battery? That's a toolbox. Well, I hate those batteries. Like I said, they're only 460 amps. I can put a 1000 amp battery in that other one and use one battery, where I'd have to have both of the skinny batteries. I don't like how they set under your floorboard. You got to put a piece of inner tube so they don't short out on your floorboard, and you have all those cables under there that gets dirt and grease, and some tractors have burned because of these battery locations. So what did I do? I took a toolbox, built a frame for it to set on, and man, that's a lot simpler. I have my power going into the starter here. I have my ground going right here. One Group 31 battery. And I'll put one Group 31 battery in that 4440 because it needs one. While we're sitting here at the 4320, let me show you the clutch. So the drive clutch is mechanical, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to say this is somewhere where I do kind of like the 4320 because we don't have a hydraulic clutch, although it is a dry clutch, and it doesn't hold up as good as the wet clutch in the 4440, but it is more simple, easier to repair if it need be, easier to set up. We have a mechanical, just regular dry clutch in this tractor. Let's compare that to the 4440. For the 4440, we have a hydraulic wet clutch. So I don't know which one of these it is. One of these is a PTO. I'd have to look which one of them's a foot clutch. This is a hydraulic valve. And the clutch in here is a wet clutch, fully hydraulic, and they'll last a long time. But when they do get out, they're a little bit tricky to set up. You better find somebody that you know what you're doing when you set that clutch up, because you have to set it up on the bench and put it back together, and you hope they've got all the measurements and fingers set right. Nothing wrong with these clutches. A little bit more complicated, but man, they hold up really good. Loader tractor, these clutches hold up a lot better than a dry clutch if you're slipping the clutch all the time. Now, let me tell you the biggest reason that somebody buys a 30 or 40 series over a 20 series, and that's that cab. They get tired of eating dust and they want a cab. And the 20 series did come with a cab. There were several options here, but they left a lot to be desired. Where when the 30 series came out, that was the first of the Soundguard cab, and in 1973 that was huge. So why did I buy a 4440? For the cab. Now let's look at the operator station. This is a 4320, which would be in the late 20 category. I mean, it's side console instead of dash hydraulics and 3-point. And these are a nice operator station. You have your clutch here, your brakes. While I'm up here, one thing that the 20 series has over the 40 and 30 series is your foot throttle. For whatever reason, they did away with the foot throttle on the 30 and 40 series. There is a kit that they sell. I know John Deere sold it, and you can probably get an aftermarket kit to put a foot throttle on a 40 series. Now, I don't find myself needing it a lot, but it's kind of nice to have a foot throttle on a tractor. We have the synchro range. I did a full video on the synchro range. These tractors, you could get synchro range only on the 4320, but we're talking about 20 series in general. So we'd have the synchro range versus a 8-speed power shift. I like this operator's platform, and I tell you, the two things on this platform that I like better than the 4440 sometimes is I like the foot throttle and I like the hand throttle. The 4440, you'll see in a minute, has a throttle over here like almost all modern tractors. And I don't know, when you're turning around, this just feels natural. Maybe it's because I've spent so many hours on this tractor. You'll have it down like this. You want to slow down, you just tap it up. Get turned around, tap it down. I don't know if it's nostalgia or what, but you don't really sit there and play with these like this. It's more of a tap, 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 get it where you want, slow down, tap, 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 tap. That's how you run the throttle on these, and I don't know, it just feels like home for me. Operator station on a 40 series. The 40 series had the hydraulic seat, over the 30 series had the same suspension as the 20 series. I like the hydraulic seat if you make sure you've got air in the accumulator. My accumulator was dry when I first got in. It rolled like a log wagon. That's for the baler when it chokes up. So, a few things with the operator station on a 40 series. One of the big improvements is right here. Tilt and telescoping. There we go. I run mine all the way out, but tilt and telescoping wheel. What I like about this is I can come down here, I can pull it all the way out, and I can put that wheel right in my lap. I don't have to reach real far for it, but for whatever reason, the 4320, the wheel on it is set about where I'd put it. The ergonomics on that tractor is fine, but it is nice to have the adjustability if you want. We have essentially the same situation: attack, fuel gauge, temperature, oil pressure, volt gauge, although that one has a volt light. and an air filter light, where this one, that's the light also. And that one has a transmission gauge instead of a light, but essentially that's nothing to worry about. Here we come with a quad range transmission. A 40 series was not offered with a synchro. You could get a sound guard cab with a synchro if you backed up to a 30 series. The 30 series offered the synchro, the quad, and the power shift. On this 40 series, we've got the quad and the power shift. I'm assuming there just wasn't that much call for a synchro. And unless you get a Mexican tractor, 40 or 55, 50 series, and those do come with a synchro. They were made for the Mexican market, and they're all going to be open station synchro. So, I've said this in several videos. I'll make it brief. This transmission is a synchro range with a 2-speed in the front. And the shifters look a lot different, but essentially if we took that part out of it, 3-1 reverse, it'd look more like a synchro range. I love this transmission for having the 2-speed bump. That's, can't put it in it, but these are 2-speed bump, 1, 2, and you can hydraulically bump it back and forth and have 2 speeds on the fly. The only thing that I hate about this transmission is, and I've said it in several videos, on the synchro range, 1 is up here and 3 is back here. So if we go backwards, if we're in B1 and we pull back to reverse, if we reverse back to reverse, we're going the speed of B3. So in essential, the quad ranges the reverse are too fast. You'll be in B1, you pull it back, 1 move, sounds like a great idea. Now you're going backwards at the speed of B3, and that is aggravating. My handles are great, but they're a little bit further away and back. 4320 is right here. It just feels like it's more comfortable to me, but that's just, everybody's different on that. But these are a nice cab. For 1970, this is an 80, but they started this cab essentially in 1973. Need a little bit of work here, glue that back up, but this isn't a perfect cab, but I tell you what, they're pretty dang nice. This isn't a bad way to spend if the AC works, spending a day in one of these. If we move to the rear of the tractor, these are essentially the same concept. They're set up basically the same, but everything on this is heavier. So that 3-point hitch is rated for, I believe, 5,600 or 5,800 pounds. This one's rated for 3,750. And essentially they're the same size family tractor, but as they went, they got bigger. So this is rated for, I believe, 3,750. 4430, if it was here, is rated at, I believe, 4,500. And we stepped up another about 1,000 or so pounds and went to, I believe, 5,600 for this 3-point hitch. This is actually category 3, that's category 2, but this is 3 narrow, so it can be bushing down to fit category 2 implements, not a problem. But, this tractor is a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier, a little bit heavier, which sometimes you want that and sometimes you don't. This tractor has more capacity. That's what a lot of people were looking for at this time. I almost forgot, and I do not know how I forgot this, because this is probably one of the biggest things, improvements on the 30 and 40 series over the 20 series, is the hydraulic transmission fluid fill. On the 30 and 40 series, we've got a fill cap right here, and we've got a dipstick right here. So we can easily stand at the back of the tractor and fill the fluid. If you look at the 20 series, we have a dipstick fill combination right here. It's in the floorboard. We got to bring the bucket up here. A 5-gallon bucket and funnel don't fit real well. The seat gets in the way. It's not a big deal, but this is one thing I really love about the 30-40 series. The 20 series is kind of a pain. So let me wrap this up. Which do I think is the better tractor, the 4440 or the 4320? Well, it depends. I like the 4320 brush hogging because it doesn't have a cab, limbs, which that's all subjective. I like the cab on the 4440 when baling, But there's another thing people don't think about when they get a cab tractor. You've got to keep the windows clean. The pros to the 4320 is it's simpler. I don't have a 2-speed in the transmission. It's just gear to gear. This one I have more transmission gear options, but not having that 2-speed in the transmission, I believe, is why this tractor will do the same work on about 2/3 of fuel of this tractor. And that's why I use this tractor as much as I can. If the day's not real hot or dusty or whatever, I love using this tractor because I can brush hog for about 2.5–3 gallons of fuel. This tractor probably uses a gallon more. So when I'm baling though, I gotta have that cab anymore. I've ate too much dust. So this tractor is a little bit bulkier, less nimble. This one feels more nimble, but I'm gonna put 38s back on this one and it won't feel so big. But that's my take on it. They're both great tractors. 20 series are great tractors. A lot of people say 4020s are the best, and they are part of the best. I mean, they built many farms, but the 4440s built a lot of farms too. So as far as simplicity, I'm taking the 20 series. As far as capacity and just sheer weight and horsepower and strength, I'm taking the 4440. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think on these tractors. Do you like the 40 series or the 20 series? I don't think it's an apples to apples comparison. I think it kind of depends on what you're doing with them. Appreciate you watching to the end. Like I said, leave me a comment, hit that like button, maybe even subscribe, and watch another video if you got time.